Max Verstappen may be wearing his usual stoic expression, but make no mistake, behind that cool Dutch exterior, he's seething. And not just your average annoyed driver kind of seething. No, this is the kind of simmering frustration that slowly builds into a Category 5 storm. Because while he's not known for sugarcoating things or putting on a diplomatic smile, Max has, so far, kept his calm in public. But behind the scenes? The guy's patience is hanging by a thread, and Red Bull's circus-level management isn't exactly helping. Let's talk about the real issue here, the absolute chaos surrounding the second seat at Red Bull. It's become an ongoing soap opera. Same plot, different season. You'd think that after watching Sergio Perez wrestle that beast of a car last year, driving like he was trying to tame a mechanical rodeo bull blindfolded and without power steering, the team would have finally realized that the problem wasn't the driver. That maybe, just maybe, the car needed a bit more than glitter and duct tape. But nope. Instead of fixing the flawed machine, they opted to fix the human behind the wheel. Classic Red Bull logic. Now flash forward to this season. And guess what? They're pulling the same stunt again, except this time, the sacrificial lamb is Liam Lawson. The poor guy gets thrown into the deep end of the F1 shark-infested pool, barely gets 2 laps in, and is already shown the door before he can even dry off. No warm-up, no grace period, just, thanks for coming, kid. Don't let the pit lane hit you on the way out. Max. He's watching this unfold and you can practically see the disbelief radiating off his face. His eyebrows have been permanently raised so high they're probably grazing the International Space Station. He can't believe it. And during a hush-hush high-stakes meeting in Dubai, yes, that kind of meeting, he laid it all out for the team. In no uncertain terms, he told them straight, replacing Lawson after just 2 bloody races is absolute lunacy. Especially considering the guy was thrown into tracks he'd never even walked, let alone raced. One of those weekends was a sprint, because of course, let's crank the difficulty up to nightmare mode while we're at it. And if that wasn't enough of a head-scratcher, Red Bull didn't even let Lawson race at Suzuka, a track he actually knows inside and out from his Super Formula days. You know, that little championship where Lawson had been performing like a beast? Yeah, Red Bull looked at that opportunity and said, "Nah, we're good." Genius. So instead of listening to the guy who's literally carried the team on his back like some sort of Dutch Atlas, yes, that would be Max, they hand over the second seat to Yuki Tsunoda. Great kid, fun personality, solid potential. But was it the right call? Max sure as hell doesn't think so. And honestly, can you blame him? The man is practically begging for a car that doesn't feel like it was assembled with leftover IKEA screws and held together by the shattered dreams of junior drivers. Meanwhile, the team's leadership is busy playing musical chairs with the second driver's seat, treating it more like a rotating internship than a serious Formula One cockpit. What's truly wild is that Max hasn't gone full detonation in the press yet. That, in itself, is impressive. But according to insiders, particularly from Del Graf, a media outlet so plugged into Red Bull they could probably hear Christian Horner's thoughts before he says them, Max is anything but amused. And it doesn't take a crystal ball to figure out what he really thinks about Lawson being booted for Tsunoda after such a ridiculously short run. So now the million-dollar question is, will Max start pulling strings behind the scenes? Will he bend some arms and force Red Bull to course-correct before the team totally implodes? Or are we witnessing the early signs of a breakup? Because let's be honest, when a driver of Max's caliber starts feeling overlooked, disrespected, and increasingly fed up, it's only a matter of time before something snaps. And if Red Bull keeps making these blindfolded, dartboard-level decisions while ignoring the guy who's basically their golden goose, Max might just start looking for the exit sign. And considering everything he's done for the team, would anyone really hold it against him? Even Helmut Marko, Mr. Hardliner himself, is reportedly scratching his head over this mess. The team seems more interested in setting new records for impulsive choices than building a consistent and winning structure. And Max? He's had it. The fire is still burning hot, but it's burning quietly. That's the scariest part. Because when you zoom out and truly consider what's going on, Max's irritation makes perfect sense. He's obsessed with front-end grip. The guy wants laser-precise control, like the car should read his damn thoughts. But he's not blind either. He knows Red Bull's second driver situation is an ongoing disaster, and until they sort that out, they're basically dragging one wing while trying to fly. In short, Red Bull better get their act together. Fast. Because Verstappen won't wait forever, and when he finally decides he's had enough, it won't just be headlines. It'll be fireworks. Alright, here's where the pot officially boils over. Things aren't just heating up at Red Bull, they're practically erupting. According to a jaw-dropping report from F1 Insider. Yes, those folks who seem to have microphones hidden in every team meeting and ears pressed against the garage walls. Max Verstappen is apparently so fed up with the chaos surrounding his team's decisions that he's actually, wait for it, considering dialing down his own performance to help his teammates scrape together a few points. That's not a joke. We're talking about Max, the reigning apex predator of the grid, thinking about sandbagging, on purpose. That's like Thor deciding to leave Mjolnir at home just to make sure Hawkeye doesn't feel useless during battle. It's so absurd it would make a Marvel writer blush. But it speaks volumes about how insane the situation has become. Now, here's the kicker. The RB21, the diva of a machine that's been giving everyone headaches, wasn't built with Max's driving style in mind. Or Yuki's. Or anyone's, really. No, this beast is being shaped by cold, soulless data. Forget feedback, forget feel, forget finesse. If the numbers on the simulation say, fast, then that's gospel. While Max is out there practically screaming into the void for a sharper front end. He wants bite, he wants feedback, he wants connection. The engineers in the wind tunnel are too busy worshipping their spreadsheets. What's the delta? They ask, eyes locked on glowing monitors. If the simulation gains 0.001s in ideal conditions, they go all in, regardless of whether the damn car tries to kill the driver in every corner. And Max? Understandably pissed. The car continues to behave like a drunken mule on ice skates, refusing to cooperate, and it's driving him insane. But the car isn't the only problem. A huge part of the issue is that Max's driving style is so extreme, so on the edge, that it practically demands chaos to thrive. He wants the front end to attack the apex like a hungry piranha, and he doesn't give a damn if the rear tries to yeet him into the gravel. That's paradise to Max. To anyone else? That's a one-way ticket to an early retirement via barrier. Now here's where Red Bull really drops the ball. Just when you think things couldn't possibly get more absurd, they go ahead and throw Liam Lawson under the proverbial bus, after just 2 races. 2. No preparation. No time to adapt. Nothing. Just boom, thanks for trying, now off you go. Seriously, Antonelli got more time to prep, and the dude didn't even have to wrestle the hellspawn that is the RB21. Max himself didn't mince words. He straight up compared the difference between the Red Bull and the Racing Bulls cars to flying a fighter jet versus mowing the lawn with a rusted-out push mower. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said Lawson would have kicked serious ass if he'd been given the Racing Bulls car instead. That thing is at least manageable. With a smirk and a splash of that brutally honest Dutch attitude we all know and love, Max basically said Liam would have soared in that machine. And you know what? We believe him. Max spent time with Liam last season. He got to know him. He didn't think the gap between Liam and Yuki was massive. If it had been, Red Bull would never have even entertained the idea of putting him in a car. But instead of giving the kid a real shot, the team pressed the panic button like they were being chased by a swarm of hornets. And it wasn't even about results, it was about completely unrealistic expectations. They threw Lawson into the fire and expected a miracle. Like, here's the most unstable, unpredictable car on the grid, good luck. No support, no real strategy, just vibes and blind hope. Let's not forget, Max hates this car too. He's made that crystal clear. The fact that he's still dragging that thing onto podiums speaks to his otherworldly talent. Give him half a chassis and a hopeful prayer, and he'll still find a way to make it work. But even Max has limits, and the RB21's flaws are pushing him right up against them. And here's where things get philosophical. We're not dealing with the hot-headed teenager who used to scream at his race engineer over the radio anymore. Max is evolving. He's matured into a strategic, team-oriented leader who wants to guide the whole damn ship, not just steer his own corner. He tried warning the team back in 2023, but back then, Red Bull was too busy popping champagne and doing victory laps. Dominance makes you deaf, it seems. But now that the performance gap is shrinking, McLaren's coming in hot, Ferrari isn't sleeping. Suddenly Red Bull is losing its grip, and their solution is to swap out the driver? Not rework the flawed car? Genius-level thinking. And that is what's boiling Max's blood. Because he's shouting in a room full of engineers who are convinced their creation is divine perfection and that every driver who can't tame it is the problem. That kind of arrogance is a slow-acting poison, and it's going to blow up in their faces. If Red Bull doesn't wake the hell up soon, Max might start wondering if it's time to pack his bags and bring his magic to a team that actually listens. Right now, Red Bull's got their fingers in their ears at the exact moment they should be paying attention. And that, my friend, is the real danger. Instead of refining a dominant car or, I don't know, listening to the most successful driver they've ever had, they're out here treating the driver lineup like a game of Pokemon. Let's try them all and see who evolves. First Lawson. Maybe next they'll throw in a rookie, a mascot, or hell, pick a name out of a hat and hope they strike gold. Spoiler alert, that's not how Formula One works. And what's most maddening is how easy it could have been to avoid all this. Imagine if they had brought in someone like Carlos Sainz, a hardened, experienced veteran who wouldn't need 3 exorcisms and a seance to figure out how to handle the RB21. But no, that would have been too reasonable. Enter Bernie Collins, throwing truth grenades into the middle of Red Bull's political sandbox. She's been openly questioning the team's decision-making, or lack thereof. She went after their failure to give Lawson enough prep time, calling it out for what it was, tossing a kid into the lion's den wearing a steak suit. No strategy, no protection, just blind optimism. And then she asked the big question. If Red Bull really wanted a competent second driver, why the hell didn't they just copy Mercedes' driver development and testing program? Why indeed. So here we are. A team with the best driver in the world, wasting time playing roulette with its second seat, while building a car that only responds to Excel formulas. Max is stuck in the middle of this chaos, trying to drag Red Bull out of the quicksand while they're too busy admiring their own reflection. And if things keep going like this, it's not a matter of if Max leaves. It's when. Let's unpack what's happening here, because things inside Red Bull are going from tense to outright explosive. Bernie Collins didn't pull any punches. She laid it out with surgical precision. The Formula One world has been endlessly buzzing about how much testing time Kimi Antonelli has racked up in that Mercedes. And who can blame them? 60 days of testing for a rookie is no small thing. That's not just development, it's investment. It's a team saying, we're going to make sure this kid sinks or swims with every tool possible. It's exactly what a smart, forward-thinking team does when they're serious about nurturing future talent. Now take a look at Liam Lawson. What did he get? Practically nothing. 2 high-pressure races in a car that's been described by insiders as borderline unmanageable. No private testing days. No tailored program. Just a sudden promotion into one of the toughest cockpits on the grid and a quick, good luck. And when he didn't walk away with a miracle, Red Bull's reaction was to act bewildered, as if they hadn't just tossed him into the deep end of the ocean wearing ankle weights. Bernie pointed out that Red Bull could have easily done what Mercedes did. Take an old RB chassis, something from 4 years ago, and just let the kid drive it until he's part of the machine. There's no cost cap regulation stopping them. There are no sporting rules preventing that kind of testing. All that stood in their way was their own unwillingness to think long-term. They could have let Liam get familiar with the tools of the trade. Instead, they threw him into the chaos of a full race weekend without proper preparation and then discarded him when he didn't turn water into wine. And now, with the smoke starting to rise, the pressure is falling squarely on Christian Horner's shoulders. He's the one with the power to choose who gets that precious second seat. He's the one responsible for building a lineup that works in harmony. And, at the moment, he's the one failing to create anything close to what teams like Ferrari or McLaren have: coherent, competitive pairings where the drivers complement each other instead of stepping on each other's toes. If this mismanagement continues, it won't just be fans and media calling for answers. Don't be shocked if big figures inside the Red Bull ecosystem, people like Helmut Marko or even Jos Verstappen, Max's own father, start asking tough questions about whether Horner is still the right person to lead the team. Because the whispers are getting louder, and the doubt is spreading. And here's the part that should really make Red Bull nervous. Max isn't the type to stay silent forever. He's been quietly testing the waters, subtly signaling his interest in other teams for a while now. Mercedes. Aston Martin. He's got doors open, and he knows it. So maybe this is the storm he's been waiting for, the perfect moment to drop the classic line, "I might leave." Because if Red Bull keeps fumbling the second seat and delivering a car that drives more like a wild animal than a race machine, Max might finally say he's had enough. And if he does, if he decides to walk away, the fallout will be massive. Horner's reputation could collapse faster than a soft compound tire overheating in the Bahrain sun. So the big question now is this: are we witnessing the early stages of a full-scale meltdown at Red Bull? Is Max going to use this dysfunction as leverage to demand real changes? Or, even more devastating for the team, is he seriously considering making an exit, punishing Red Bull for years of second-seat blunders and short-sighted management? What we're seeing isn't just about Liam Lawson. It's about a broken system that refuses to evolve. A team so obsessed with chasing short-term results that it's forgotten how to build toward a sustainable future. A group of decision-makers that listens more to data than to their own drivers. And now, with Max Verstappen potentially reaching his limit, the consequences are looming. If Red Bull wants to keep their champion, they need to stop playing roulette with their second seat and start acting like a team with a long-term vision. Because Max isn't desperate. Red Bull is. And if they lose him, it won't just be a loss, it'll be a collapse. So what do you think? Is Red Bull headed for a total implosion? Will Max finally pull the trigger and leave the chaos behind? Or will Christian Horner somehow manage to regain control before the whole thing falls apart? Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you want to dive even deeper into this mess, tap the next video on your screen and keep peeling back the layers of Formula One's most dramatic saga.